going to hurt the economy. I wouldn't say it's abandoned, but it's less important all the time. I mean, the fact that they can still have 60% reserves means it's still there. But the market, I look at the market signals, and I think the thing that happened this week was very, very significant. That is when the IMF announces that they're going to dump 200 tons of gold on the market. Well, ordinarily a person would think, and they were hoping, well, a lot of that gold out there, that's going to drive down the price of gold and make all the fiat currencies look better. But what happened? A bank from Asia, India, buys the whole lot, which sent a signal, I think, to the world markets that, in essence, gold has been remonetized. It never gets demonetized, but it has less importance as money when all the countries reject it. But I think this is a major, major signal that the dollar is getting closer, it's on its last legs, and gold is getting more important. And as the Chinese buy less and less, they have already started buying gold, and they don't want to buy too much too fast and, shoot the price up, too quickly. But I think that's coming. I think the gold price is destined to go a lot higher, and the dollar's going to go a lot lower. And they cannot dethrone gold. They can disrupt and play these games for a long, long time. But in many ways, this is very, very good because it tells us that the governments no longer can get away with just printing money to finance their schemes. And it's their schemes that are so damaging to us, whether it's the welfare or the warfare, it all hurts the people because they have to pay the bills. So some of these things are good signals, although it means that we have to be concerned about the chaos that might erupt.
All right. That was a short snippet of Ron Paul's interview with us live here yesterday. Bob, your comments on that?
Totally along the lines of what Ted Anderson and I have been talking about for a long time. And I agree, and I'm sure Ted does. And I think that we're right on course. My feeling is this thing was all created for a reason. It just didn't happen. And I think there's a point along the way that they had planned to switch from the inflationary depression to the deflationary. And I think that their plans have been so disrupted by your program and programs like it and the International Forecaster and others who not only tell you what's going on in that realm and others, but also the total truth of who's behind it and what they're doing. And your next guest, in a way, is going to be telling you the same thing. I mean, these people on Wall Street are criminals. I know. I've been there. I've done that.
Did you read the McClatchy newspaper in big investigation with an award-winning financial writer actually got the internal Goldman Sachs documents where they planned to sell the housing market derivatives knowing they were going to implode, wanting to bring down Bear Stearns? I remember over a year ago on this show, you said Goldman Sachs has all their people as regulators. They grab Bear Stearns for no reason and some other brokerage firms and investment banks. And you, in fact, yesterday as I had another guest on and as I covered that article again, I remembered how over a year ago you had said exactly what was happening, and now so many others are saying it. And, of course, we have Professor Black, one of the former top federal investigators. He's in Fall of the Republic, saying the same thing. I mean, it's really coming out that these guys are a bunch of crooks.
Well, what you were referring to was that they were selling CDOs, collateralized debt obligations, and they were bonds which contained mortgages and pieces of mortgages. And they browbeat the rating agencies, S&P, Moody's, and Fitch, into giving them AAA ratings when, in fact, their ratings were BBB, the difference between a 10 and a 3. And they knew that this toxic garbage was going to start falling apart. So the minute they sold them to the buyers, and, of course, they did have some still in inventory when all this happened, they sold them to the buyers, and then they shorted them. They bet that they were going to go down. And here they've just sold them on the long side to institutions throughout the world, particularly in Europe. And then they turned around and shorted the market at the same time, and that's what the writer is talking about.
Now let's explain this.
You have a bond, and you sell it to Alex Jones. Goldman Sachs does. Then they turn around, and they go into the market, and they sell the bond that you just bought, just like they want it to go down. Because when you sell short, it has a tendency to make the bond or the stock to go lower. And if other people see that, they'll sell too. So if they sell the bond short at par, which is 1,000, it may go down to 95 or 90. And then somewhere along the way, they're going to buy their short position back, and they're going to make a profit on the downside by betting that your bond is going down, which it did.
I was about to say, so in layman's terms, Goldman Sachs, unlike any other group, has regulators internationally in the Treasury, in the private Federal Reserve, in the government, on record, running everything. They go out and package crap derivatives, knowing it's crud, knowing it's bad mortgages. They get it AAA rated as solid gold. They tell everybody it's great in press releases. They sell it to banks, institutions, individuals, to the investing world, to governments, to CalPERS in California, to your school district, to the COP, union, pension funds, everything. They know it's a time bomb. They know it's a car that's going to blow up in an hour, but they sell it to you off the lot, knowing it's going to explode and kill everybody on board. Then to make sure it happens, it's already crap, they go out and bet against it to drive it down. Then it goes way down. Then they use government bailout money to come buy it back up, what has value, picking and choosing at literally dimes on the dollar at the bottom, and then they all post record profits and give each other record bonuses. I mean, that is diabolical. And the article goes on to say they didn't just do it for incredible profit. They did it to devastate other financial institutions because they are the regulators. As Goldman Sachs, they have their operatives everywhere. They can then come in and use regulators to shut down and force the sale or liquidation or takeover to other Federal Reserve grouped banks that they're allied with or themselves.
That was so brilliant that I think that you might get a letter or a call from Goldman Sachs asking you to go to work for them.
No, seriously.
That was perfect, Alex. And, I know that you're not someone who has been trained in that industry, and that was a wonderful explanation. Thank you.
Well, no, I'm just here every day reading it, looking at it. I mean, I just understand what these that's what Rothschild did in 1815, staging the collapse of the market so he could buy it up. I mean, it's the same trick, just more sophisticated.
That's right. And I'm glad writers are getting on this. I don't have time to write special item and do special investigation. I'm publishing so much now and 30 hours a week on the radio, but I'm glad they're there. I welcome them. I love them. And I hope they work harder and harder and harder, and I hope more of them come, and I hope more of them come on radio and in the Internet, because we need all the help we can get.
I'm just blown away by how bold Goldman Sachs is. And, of course, they're just one of the culprits. Bob,
they just don't care. They are a law unto themselves. They're crooks in $3,000 suits. They don't care about the Constitution, the laws. The SEC protects them. And, did Shapiro work for the SEC? There's so many of their alumni, so to speak, in banking worldwide, as you pointed out, as well as in the brokerage business that have gone to Washington. It's ludicrous. Now, it's not new. There have been other firms. Dillon Reed and J.P. Morgan Chase, J.P. Morgan, used to be the anointed ones, and in current years, Goldman Sachs has come along and taken over the helm, so to speak, for the Treasury, J.P. Morgan Chase for the Fed. And one handles one area and one handles the other. But they run the country, and we've got to stop them.
So we have a gang of crooks.
Because they want world government, and that's what this is all about.
Exactly. Because then they're the world government, and they write the laws, they control the army, and they can legalize all their crimes. Right now is an important transition for them because they've been doing it under color of law. But if they're able to get their police state in place, heaven help us. why is Goldman Sachs, every time we turn over a rock, why is it one of their alumni in a federal regulatory position? I mean, I don't see many regulatory positions where you don't have a Goldman Sachs ring wraith in there in the cockpit.
It's planned that way. Look at the seamless change between Bush and Obama. Team A replaced Team B. Where did they come from? All the bureaucrats. A Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberger Group, hardcore illuminists. They all want world government. We didn't have any change, and so it's all the same.